The first time I came out as gay because I liked women. And that's the only term I knew, you know, like I had to be a lesbian, and I hated that word. Little Layne remembers enjoying being a kid, because I did. None of that stuff mattered. Adolescent Layne is a bit different. Adolescent Layne remembers not liking the clothes that I had to wear. I remember being really upset about having a period. I remember butting heads with my mom a lot because I wasn't the daughter that she wanted. And I'll never forget, this video came on and there was a woman on it. My heart started beating so fast. I didn't know what it was. Like, that was like my first real crush. And I just was like, oh my God, like why do I feel like this? Like, you're not supposed to have these like tingles about a girl, you know? And I'll never forget that, because I never told anybody at the time. Like, I never tried to figure out what that was. I just hoped I saw the video again. There just wasn't space. It just wasn't a place where we talked a lot about our feelings and what was going on. And basketball was an oasis for me because I was in control. You know, it was up to me how good I was, and it was up to me how much time I put in. I don't know where I would actually be if I didn't play basketball. With all the feelings that I had inside me, where would my outlet have been? Basketball was the place where it didn't matter. None of that stuff mattered. How I looked, how I felt, what my body was, who I liked, it didn't matter on the basketball court. It mattered if you could put the ball in the hoop. When I was 16, there was a kid at my church that I liked. I liked him a lot, actually. I think it's just being 16, and our parents told us that we couldn't like each other anymore because they thought we were probably gonna do whatever that kids do when they're 16. I went to prom my junior and senior year with a date, but they weren't my boyfriend. I mean, there are certainly guys that liked me, but basketball was my thing. I'm busy. And I didn't realize, I mean, subconsciously, like, I had to have been being like, I'm not doing that. But I couldn't dig into that. My mom was the director of the chastity program at our church, okay? So I had a chastity ring. It was made, you wore it on your ring finger, like you had a chastity ceremony. I wore a white dress. My dad walked me down the aisle to like make this vow to God that I wasn't gonna have sex. And like the funny thing about it, this is, I've never told anybody this. The funny thing about it was like, I wasn't worried about the chastity vow. Like, thinking back, like I wasn't gonna do it with a man, you know? Like, I wasn't worried about it, and I can't even believe that. Like, I didn't even think about it until right now. Like, I was never worried about breaking my vow to the Lord. I did use it though. I'm not gonna lie, I did use it in college. There was a guy that liked me in college, and he wanted to do some stuff, and I was like, oof, nope, married to God, can't do it, you know? And even then, I didn't know at that point, but I just wasn't gonna do it, you know? So. College, I found myself, you know, right away my freshman year, I had a test on exactly who I was, right? And so I had this class, it was a 3-credit class, and they brought in a panel. It was an LGBTQ panel, and this was gonna be my first experience really with this community. And there was a girl on the panel, and she had this little scar on her face right here, and she was telling her story, and she was talking about how she knew when she was in high school that she liked girls, and that her first girlfriend was her best friend. And I was sitting in the front row, and I was just like, ugh, and I was being a jerk, you know, like a jerk, like almost heckling, you know, like talking to my friends and like making little jokes and laughing. And that was that. The panel got over, okay, and I just remembered I was being a jerk. So fast forward to my sophomore year, and I walk into French class, and she's in there. And I was shocked, you know, because I recognized her, but I had also changed a bit, you know, like a year of college and meeting new people and seeing different things, having teammates that were gay, that opened my eyes a little bit. And so she ended up being my first girlfriend. Aside from the one boy that I really liked when I was 16, I didn't like anybody like that, you know? And I mean, yeah, I think we were sitting down on the couch, watching a Disney movie, and just kind of scooted over a little closer, and my heart started beating fast again, like when I saw the girl in the video. And I didn't know what was gonna happen. Like, a lot of the first year that we were together was a lot of me being like, well, I'm not doing that, or I don't know what to do, or scared, you know, or like, I'm gonna go to hell, and like running back out of it, you know, because that was a big shift and it was hard. And on top of that, like, I didn't know what to do with the fact that I liked women, but like I wasn't a lesbian, and like I had to be called that, you know? So I told my coach, because I trusted her. She was great. She told me I was gonna be okay, you know? You're not the first, you're not gonna be the last. And she connected me with a counselor. And I went to see the counselor. And I told the counselor that my main issue was, I don't get how I can be me and, you know, be in the church or like not go to hell because this is how I was brought up. And the counselor brought out a pamphlet and she said, there's lots of churches that are affirming and open, and, you know, there's non-denominational. There's places that accept people from the community. And I got up and I walked out. I think having it ingrained in you for 18 years because you go to church on Sundays and Mondays and Wednesdays, and then sometimes for revival on Fridays, right? Like I think that's a lot of reminders of how you're supposed to act and what women are supposed to be like and what men are supposed to be like and how homosexuality is wrong. So I think anybody in that case might come out, and it's gonna take you a minute to get that out of you. And it did, it took me a minute to shake those things off. Coming to the realization that I did actually like women, I didn't want to tell anybody. I was gonna be lying to my family for the first time. I was sinning as far as my upbringing, and so I was playing in a basketball game and I got injured. I fell down, I hurt my back. My mom stayed with me overnight. And I used to talk in my sleep, I still do. And so she slept with me, you know, she stayed the night at my little apartment. And so the next day when we woke up, she said, hey, I need to ask you something. I said, sure. She said, well, last night when you were asleep, you were saying some stuff. And I said, what kind of stuff? And she was like, well, like, you don't like girls or anything, do you? And I freaked out. I was like, no. Why would you ask me that? She was like, I don't know, just some of the things you were saying while you were asleep. And I was like, no, I don't know why you would ask me that. Meanwhile, I have a whole girlfriend that I'm waiting to have come over when my mom leaves. A few days later, my dad came down for a game, and we went to dinner, and he said, your mom told me about the incident when she asked you and all that stuff. And I said, yeah. And he said, so I'm gonna ask you, like, you know, do you like girls? And I don't know why, but something in me was just like, stop lying. Stop lying, just tell the truth. And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, are you and my girlfriend at the time, he said, are you guys like more than friends? And I said, yeah, she's my girlfriend. And he was quiet pretty much the rest of the dinner. I think we changed the subject. And when he dropped me off, he said to me, what did we do wrong? And I said, nothing. And that was kind of it. And so like, that's kind of how I came out. And not ideal. My grandmother's an evangelist. My grandfather's an elder. They wanted to pray for me to say, let's get this demon out of you. And it was something that my family thought that they could pray away. And we know how well that goes. It didn't work. But shortly after that, I mean, I got a job, and I got my first coaching job out of state, which was important and necessary. Not to run away, but just a matter of like, let me get my life going. I met somebody, and we were gonna move to California. It was a rainy day, and I walked out of my parents' house. My mom came coming out the driveway behind me. My dad was kind of behind her. was raining, I was like crying, I was like, I'm going, you know? Got in the car, and we like drove off. And like for the first 5-6 hours of that trip, I was crying, sobbing, you know? Like, what is this gonna be like? The reason I moved to California is because my partner at the time got a job. And so we moved there, and it was awesome. And so I spent the first few months like working temp jobs, trying to figure out what I was gonna do. So finally, I get a call for a job at the YMCA. And I'm excited, you know, it's gonna be like a sports director, it's gonna be great. So I go to the interview and I meet the executive director. Right away, she comes out to me. And I'm shocked, because I'm from Michigan and like, we don't do that. Like, we don't talk about it. Like, I would never. And I'm like, that's cool. She's like telling me about her partner and how they just bought a house. And like, I'm like, LA is amazing. Like, wow, like we can just talk. So then I came out to her. And she was like, awesome, community. And I was like, wow, what's happening? We continue with the interview and it's going great. And she's like, okay, we're gonna go to the next part, which was a panel interview with 3 other people. And I go, what do I say when they ask me why I moved out here? Because I moved with a partner. And in Michigan, I would never be like, I moved here with my partner. And she said, you tell them the truth. Like, you be exactly who you are, and if they don't like it, that's their problem. And that moment changed my life. Like that moment in the hallway of the YMCA changed my life. Because from that point on, I decided that I could only be me, and like that's all I was gonna be, and people were gonna accept it or they weren't. And that's how I've been since. And so I did, I walked in that room and they asked me, what brought you to California? And I said, I moved out here with my partner. And they didn't flinch. And I was like, okay. And so being in LA was eye-opening. It was more open, it was more inclusive, it was more welcoming. LA is also the place where like I really, really started changing the way that I dressed and the way that I presented. And I think, looking back now, like obviously I was doing that because I was away from home. You know, you just don't realize the stuff that you do subconsciously. But the LA Macy's is where I first started shopping in the men's section, and I'd be looking at stuff, and a woman or somebody would walk by, and I would act like I was on my phone trying to get somebody's size to like pick out the shirt for them. Like, what? Like, why do you do this stuff? But it just was weird back then, you know, like I'm not supposed to be over here. But that's all I wore. When I got back to Michigan, everybody was really happy. I mean, I'd been gone for 8-9 years, and it was great to be back home, to be around my parents, my grandparents, and a lot of time had passed. I'd been back and forth for Christmas and other holidays, and everybody had kind of got on board with my life, and they were like, okay, Layne, like you're just you. Like they remembered that I was just me, still the same human being. And so things were fine, you know. I was glad to be back, I had a great job. A few months later though, I met somebody and didn't know what that was gonna look like, but I knew right away that there was something. I knew right away that this person made me feel a way. We were coworkers, and so we would take our breaks together. That's how it started. And we just would talk a little bit, and she wouldn't give very much, but I would, and I was inquisitive. I wanted to know more. And I just hadn't ever felt that much at ease to just actually be. And the way that we were connecting was different. I liked her. You know, you probably can't like me because you like guys and got 2 kids, different situation that you're in. But she did like me. She saw me. Her seeing me didn't make me feel uncomfortable. It also was freeing. It felt safe. And it was a really, really intense love. I was still presenting as a woman when I met her. And she had never been with a woman. It was really hard to explain. She was feeling it and I was feeling it, and we weren't talking about it. I was a guy. As our relationship kept growing, these little topics would come up where she would call me her little football boy or something like that. And there'd just be a little whatever, and my ears would kind of perk up. She was seeing who I really was on the inside. She was seeing the man in me. She was seeing the guy. She was seeing a person that she could see herself with. I was just in the wrong body at the time.